Hello, welcome everyone to another episode. Today we are going to talk about Copilot for security again, and it's about prompting. We mentioned before that prompting is super important because if you know how to really prompt, it's the best to get the right answers from Copilot for security. And I have Shobhit with me to help us get better in prompting. Shobhit, please introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. I'm Shobhit Garg. I'm part of Copilot for Security Customer Experience Engineering team. And as a part of this role, I work with customers and partners to showcase the capabilities of new products. And also we capture feedback, insights to see how we can make our product more efficient and effective for our customers.
So, and when you're working with your customers, Shobhit, so did you experience that prompting is a challenge? Many people probably use ChatGPT and ask questions and started to get a feeling for how to ask the questions, but it's so specific. So, what is your experience working with customers when it comes to prompting?
100% prompting is super important. So I live in Asia, and this side of the world specifically, I see prompting is a big challenge. So what happens? Effective prompt can give us a better output. So we can start with a generic prompt, and that is why when we launched this product, we came up with some sample prompts for our customers to use it so they can see and can build on top of that. Even when we publish our GitHub repo, we publish those sample prompts so that customers can get benefit out of it. Prompting is key because depending on the quality of prompt, our response would be there, and then we can actually see the output which matters most to the business.
Mm. And does it mean you need to be specific in what should be the plugin to use, or what is the expected outcome? I think it's a combination of all of that, right? Help me a little bit.
No, absolutely. So think about that. Prompt could be depending on what we want to do. So there are a few things we need to be aware of. So element of the effective prompt could be what is our goal, what we want to do. For example, if I want to get information about an incident, I can be a little bit more specific, whether I want to get it from Defender, whether I want to get it from Sentinel, right? And then I can provide some of the context that if I want to submit as a report or if I want to correlate it using the threat intel, I can use that context to get the output the way I would use, and it will make my life easier. And finally, what is my expectations from the prompt? So if I'm looking for a short summary, if I'm looking in a bullet points, if I want it in a table format, I can be specific in as a part of the prompting. And finally, and another thing I would say is source, which becomes very, very important. For instance, if I want to get information from third-party plugins, or if I want to get information from third-party website. For example, I'm looking for vulnerability. I'd like to look for different sources. I can be specific and try correlate and get the information that would be more useful and save time.
So, but if you start asking questions, and let's say we are digging into incident number 2865. I don't need to repeat this all the time, right? So if I then say, give me more information about the impacted user of that incident, it will know the incident, right? So we keep talking in context.
Absolutely. And that is a key thing for Copilot for security, because as a security professional, we keep the information about the previous prompt so that when we ask a question, we need not to repeat. Take an example. If I ask a question, extract entities out of any incident. Now, I see there are some domains, host name, or devices. I need not to specify the name. I can ask, let me know what I need to do to remediate this particular device. And it would understand the context. It would give it response in that context. So it makes life easier for security professional.
Mm-hmm. So, and before we actually jump into a demo, Shobhit, so there is the prompt books, right? So that people can already use pre-written queries or questions. But can they also save their own queries or like ask the questions and then add them to their own prompt books?
So stay tuned for one of the demo. What I did, I created a custom prompt book, and I'll show an example how we can use it and as a part of investigations. This is just a sample to give an idea, but of course our customers can build based on their usage and how they're using it.
So then, Shobhit, I think let's jump into the demo.
Absolutely. So I have a couple of sessions which I'm going to show today, and I'll start with a basic demo scenario. So I can ask an open-ended question, and many times you would get a response to that. Though in this case, I ask a question. I'm a new CISO, and I'd like to understand our Defender incident. How are we doing, and are we prepared? And if not, why? So that is the intent. But what I get here, try rewording your prompt. It gives an idea, it gives a suggestion that a better prompt can give a better output. So what I did, I reworded the prompt and I said, as a new CISO, I'm interested in understanding our Microsoft Defender incident. So I'm giving a context. I want to pull information from Defender. Could you provide a summary of total number of incidents in the last quarter? I'm giving a timeline again so that it can come up with definite answer. Their severity breaks down and the status of resolution. What type of threats are most common? How do we compare to industry average? Based on the current situation, are we prepared for future threats? And why? What changes should be considered for enhancing our security posture? So even if you see the intent for the previous question was this, now if I've been specific, I get the answer and reply where it shows that based on the data from last quarter, the question I asked, these are total number of incidents I have, 47. And then it gives me some of the incidents categorization. And then there was one question I asked compared to the industry average. It tries to give me information there. Comparing to industry average, the number is relatively high. Now I know that there is some work I need to do as a CISO, right? And then it suggests some of the remediation actions that improve your threat detection capabilities, strengthen your data protection, and other things. So idea is, depending on the quality of prompt, it can give better response.
So, Shobhit, you ask like, I don't know, 5 questions in one prompt. Is this best practice to, I don't know, fill it all into one prompt? Or, I mean, I personally would probably ask the first question and then have a follow-up question and another follow-up question. Is there like a limit on how many question marks you can add in your prompt, or what are best practices here?
You're absolutely correct, Heike. So for the new users, I would say start with a basic question and ask a follow-up question on top of that. We call it as a short prompt. So what you're doing, you are asking a question and then you're giving information, context that I want to ask this way. This really helps when you are starting your journey with this. But again, in case if you want a particular report or format, you can be more descriptive. That let's say I want a metadata, I want a paragraph, I want information about it, and it can be more tailored to your needs.
So if I would do my way, right, I ask one question and I have a follow-up question and another follow-up question. Can I then still in the end say, can you please summarize all your answers to my questions into a report or something? Because in your way, right, you ask, give me an overview of all the incidents and how we are doing and what we could do, like a lot of questions. So everything is in one answer. Can I get this still if I do it my way?
100%. And let me show you one of the example what we have as a prompt book from Microsoft. I'll just show one of the prompt book we have. And let's take an example, the one which is built by Microsoft. And I'll pick one of these report, analyze, or let's say, so by default, we give prompt books to our customers so that they can see what's exactly happening. And let's take an example of Sentinel incident investigation. So this is what exactly you're talking about. There is a basic question that summarizes Sentinel incident. And then there is a follow-up question. Tell me about the entities that is associated with it. And then if there is any IP address, what are the reputation of an IP? And if there is any user which is listed, what was the authentication method that is used by the user? And if there was any device, what is the device status? And finally, we are asking an exact report. So that is something we certainly do. But effective prompt, sometimes, when you try to ask a generic question, it gives a response that may be vague. But in case if you be a little bit more specific based on your needs, it can give you tailored answer as per your needs.
So I see in this example, it says input, you will need Sentinel incident ID. So I have never run such a prompt book. So when you hit start new session, will it now first ask you after the ID? Where do you get the ID from? So I think that's something that you need before you run the prompt book, right?
Absolutely. I just need to supply an incident ID. That's it. And I can have a cup of coffee or I can continue working on something else. And behind the scenes, Copilot for security can run all these prompts for you and create a report for you. So I'm just taking an arbitrary number here.
So, okay, the first question would probably be before I run the playbook, I would say, give me a list of all my Sentinel incidents, and then I would get the list, maybe even ascending by priority, and then I will get the number, and then I could run the prompt book.
Absolutely, 100%. You can do that. And I think the second example, what I had in the same session, I'll go back to that. I had the same thing. So if I go here, I named it, sorry. So in this case, Heike, to your point, I asked a question here. List top 20 most critical defender incident from the last 30 days. Again, usually this prompt will work. I did something that it's not working just to showcase how effective prompt can give you better output, right? But then I said here, could you provide me a bullet list of 20 most critical defender incident? It could be Sentinel incident, right? From the past 30 days. Group these incidents by analyst assigned to one. For ease of access, include reference number of each incident in the response and also include median time. Depending on like this is the report I wanted to do. It gave me a list and it gave me that this particular analyst work on the incident and it's giving me a link to the URL. I can go and validate the information so that you can validate there is no hallucination happening. You can go and confirm the information from there.
Oh, wow. So then let's go into one of the prompt books. Doesn't matter if it's Defender XDR or Sentinel, and look for an incident.
Absolutely. So what I have is I have this which is open right now. And in this case, if I just need to supply a Defender incident, and when I click on run, what would exactly happen? It would run all these 7 prompts right away. It would try summarize the incident for us. It would look for entities that are involved. It would go and look for any threat intel behind the scenes to correlate it with this incident to raise the severity for us. For example, and this is a real scenario, what happens, right? Sometimes a Defender incident may be medium severity, but when you try contextualize using, let's say, threat intel, and customer sees it's associated with any known actor, or if it's associated with any the TTPs used are by the known actors, it elevates the impact for them, and they make it, they start working on it as a high severity to limit the impact.
So I have a question whilst this is loading. Like each prompt can go to one plugin.
Right.
So it's not if you have 5 question marks, it can go for 1 question mark to Defender, for 1 question mark to Entra ID. So you need to be also thoughtful of what sources you want to ask to then, I mean, this is why you have that playbook, right? Because the first one, if I'm seeing this correctly, really summarizes the incident from Defender XDR. The second one, I saw the Azure icon, so it went to somewhere else. So how is it really right? So you need to be thoughtful.
Absolutely. In this case, as a part of the security operations, right? So what differentiation we have in our product is use of plugins, because it's not, imagine, and this is one of the common questions, how this is different than ChatGPT or Bard or Gemini, right? Because in this case, it contextualizes the information based on the plugins. So I ask a question, something related to Entra. Let's say I ask, hey, is my user Shobhit Whiskey? It would go and see what all plugins I have here. And this toggle has to be on. And imagine in this case, Entra I'm using and it's on. Behind the scenes, we would take a decision that Entra may be most appropriate skill to provide this kind of information back to the user. We would select that plugin and supply the information back to the user. So any plugin can be used as a part of different prompt today, though we are working to improve the product, bring parallel processing and everything, that can help us ask multiple questions related to different plugins as well.
Okay. But then if you go back out of the manage source page and basically your result, every single question shows me the source, where it went to.
Absolutely.
Yes,
This is the beautiful
okay.
part. What we have is we show you the source, what plugin we are selecting, and then how we are trying to give the response back. And another good thing is when we try to do as a part of the whole process, Microsoft has responsible AI principles, right? It's not just choosing plugin. We do check a lot of different things to make sure the content we are giving you is, we do grounding 2 times, pre-processing and post-processing, to reduce hallucination and everything. Additionally, what we do is we give you answer to make sure that it's meeting our responsible AI principles. So it's not biased, it's not stereotype, it's meeting and it's thinking as a security orchestrator to give it back. So take this example. I asked this question that this is an incident, and this one has 21 alerts, and it says that this is the severity, these are the incidents, and behind us down at the bottom it gives me a quick summary. And the good part about this summary, it links it to a kill chain. So now as an analyst, if I have to do that, it's huge task. It says this is the initial access, that activity happened here. The defense evasion activity happened at this point in time, including the timelines, including the entities involved and other things. So really makes empower the SOC professional to do the work easily and to bring value out of the product.
So in the end, it says reference is the incident page. If you scroll up again, there is an Azure icon. I don't understand why that's there. So process your request. What's that?
So in this case, we do, because we have partnership with OpenAI, and we use the GPT-4 as a foundational model today. So we do go and check the information to take advantage of the large language model. And also we do grounding and give information based on that. So this is a kind of indication where we are talking to OpenAI service, which is again hosted on Azure, and giving information, taking advantage of the most advanced LLM in the world.
Okay, I thought it was the source.
Plugin is selected here. So this is where it goes and choose. Our customers need not to worry about that. Behind the scenes, we have a logic built in where we go and select the plugin for them.
Yeah, but if, for instance, you ask a question and the plugin is a different plugin, you wanted a different plugin, so then it helps you, right? So it shows you the source. So if you want a different source, you can basically go back and reframe your question, even saying, please go to XYZ and give me that information. So you help Copilot to pick the other plugin.
So if you see there, we have an edit option. So for example, if I want to be specific, I can go and say, hey, look at the summarization and select Defender plugin. First thing, that's what I can do. Another thing, in case as a customer, if you're using this and it's choosing wrong plugin, you can temporarily, you can go and disable the plugin if it's going to the wrong one. And then you can try again. So if let's say in this case, it's choosing Defender, I want it to be Sentinel, I can just disable Defender XDR, and then I can ask and it can see that plugin is disabled and it can choose the correct one. That could be another way of doing it.
Which would be weird if you ask for summarize the Defender incident and then okay. And then, because I'm not very familiar with all of this, so can you explain in your prompting, are the pins important? I see there is a lot of icons. You have the pin, you just showed us the editing, there is a redo it, and the trash can.
No, that's a good one. So pin is very important for security professionals. So what happened? Imagine I'm working on this particular incident and there are 7 sequences. At times, security professional may be using 10, 20 prompts in a day. Now they can't go back and check each one of them. So to simplify, what we have done is we can select and we can say pin this. and I have an option to tick or untick. And what it would do, it would show you how many pin items I have, and we will provide a brief summary of all those information. So as an analyst, this is my session. I'm working on it. I go now, a brief summary of what I've done is given to me, so I can capture it and use it for my documentation purposes or the way I was using it.
Okay, thank you. So, and then back, so in case you aren't, like you edited your prompt, can you in the prompt book move the order of the question and then basically also save it as your own new
100%.
prompt book?
So let me show two examples here. First, this is the box. As you were talking about, this is the pen. This is where I can resubmit a prompt. If I want to delete a prompt, we give an option to our customers. And this is where I can create a prompt book as well. So just to take an example of this one, I can go name a prompt book. I can provide a tag. And this is where I can add different prompts. And I can just say demo, I mean, anything. And we have an option to move it up and down. So this is what you were asking. Let's say, as an analyst, I'm creating a workbook, a playbook. And I said, this sequence now should go down. We give that flexibility to our customers.
Yeah, because it could be, right, that you started it and then you're like, oh, damn it, I should have asked that first because my next question is a follow-up question. So you don't have to do the whole thing again, but you can move it up and down.
Absolutely. And also for analysts, we give this option where they can just start with themselves first. Let's say once they're, because this is something new, everybody's learning, right? So they start small and they test. Once they're happy with it, we give an option that they can make it available for anyone in the organization. So tier 1, tier 2 can be using it. But let's say in this case, dev team who are building this can build first, test it. Once they're happy with the results, they can expand it to the larger audience.
So when you say larger audience, I did an episode with Sean about getting started. And at the very beginning, you were setting up the environment. And I think I forgot what it wasn't called, but you can have different of these for your organization where you assign your CSUs. So if you select now for your organization, is this for that one that you are part of, or is this for all of them? I don't know if I'm making sense.
So SEU is different thing, right? SEU is the compute unit behind the scenes, but we give options to some of the roles. In this case, there are roles what we have created. Owner, who you can imagine who can do pretty much everything in Copilot for security, and then contributor who can contribute in terms of making use of what is being provided to them. So we give flexibility to our customers. If I go here in settings, and they can define whether a contributor or owner wants to create plugin. So some organization, they have change control process. They don't want everybody to come up and make changes to the plugins, right? So this is where the flexibility comes in. Depending on the role what you have, you can create a plugin. Similarly, for knowledge measure, they can change the kind of files they can upload, and also what kind of logging level in terms of summary or verbose will be applicable to the environment.
Okay. So Shobhit, let's go back a little bit to the topic. Can you share a few more examples of really good prompts and practices, prompting practices?
Sure, absolutely. Let me show two examples here. So in this case, not necessarily everything we have to do based on plugins. And this is one of the example where, let's say I'm running a project, and what I want to do is I want to see a guidance from Copilot for security, which is a little bit tailored based on my environment, but it also includes a generic recommendation steps. How can I take advantage of it? So I wrote a prompt, create a detailed project plan for deploying thousands of new devices using Autopilot. Autopilot is one of the service we have in Intune. And then if you see the prompting, what I'm doing is I'm saying include step by step. What we call this in the prompting world as chain of thoughts, so that it will break down the information while giving a response back to me, covering the device and application readiness assessment. critical application testing during the Windows configuration and deployment process. And then I says the plan should focus on using Intune. So now one question you ask me, can I point it to a particular plugin without choosing? In this case, I explicitly mentioned choose Intune as a plugin, right? So if I go here, it chooses Microsoft Intune. First, it's following my instructions. Then it gives me an output that this is a device. These are some of the readiness. I should think about that. And it's giving like a project format, and I could think about that. It's giving me an ideas. I need to check all the inventories. I need to see all the applications, check for the app compatibility, which is really, really, if you have worked on such project, these are really important things to consider.
So where does it know it all this information from? Is this going to the documentation? Like, how does it know what's critical and what's important? This is wow.
So this is the beauty of large language model. It has billions of parameters, and when we ask a question, it's use that knowledge. And we also use it as a security orchestrator as a Microsoft, right? We do get 78 trillion signals a day. So what we are doing here, we are contextualizing, we are providing the information which is more meaningful based on the prompt to our audience, to our customers. So if I have to write such a report, I got this in 45 seconds. If you think about that, if I need to write such thing, it's huge, long time for anybody to do that, right? And it's defined, and I can ask follow-up question. Like initially you were saying, Shobhit, if I have any follow-up question, can I ask based on it? Of course you can go and ask, give me more details about app testing, what methods, technology, terminologies I need to use, and you can tailor it to your environment. So a prompting can be specific. Sometimes it may not have information, but this is my advice to our customers and whosoever using the product. Sometimes if you use a prompt and it doesn't give the desired result, try change the wording. Try again. You might get the information what you're looking at.
Yeah, and the beauty I learned is you can basically scroll up and then edit your prompt. You don't have to type the whole I always type the whole thing again. I didn't know you can just go up and edit it.
Yes.
And you said you had a second example.
Yes. Another example is advanced hunting query. And this is one of the skills. So what I did, I asked a follow-up question here that go and look for the vulnerabilities that is present. And in this case, it looked at the defender threat intel. And I asked to give it in a table format for me, which is more meaningful for me as an individual when I'm working on it. And I asked, give me the source as well. So it gave me the information, the summary, what is the criticality of it. I asked it to stack rank based on the criticality, and it gives me the URL. And this is another good part. So what I ask here, ensure all information is from reputable source. So one thing where you are concerned about hallucination, using example or context like this can help that. So now it's not hallucinating, it's going to the real information, giving us and giving a source of that. You can always validate.
Are you saying that Copilot for security is hallucinating sometimes?
Though we have very good feedback, but again, as you see down at the bottom, AI generated content may be incorrect. We always recommend our customers and partners to validate the response because it's a Copilot. Remember, right? It's a digital assistant helping us. We need to validate the information and need to make sure that it's really tailored and that can be meaningful to the business. But the example which I was about to show, based on the continuation, I asked a very basic prompt. Hey, create an advanced hunting query. If I type correctly, but luckily it understands. I said hinting to determine if any of the CVEs listed above are, and this is again to your question. I'm not giving all the CVEs number. I just said all the CVEs which were listed in the previous prompt, right? Please include details about which assets are impacted, the software vendors involved, and recommended. It gave me a very basic query. I was not happy with it. I said, okay, let me modify the prompt and make it more tailored to see if I can get better results. And I changed the prompt here. I said, I need an in-depth analysis of system to determine if any listed CVE are impacting my environment. The analyst should identify the specific assets by those vulnerabilities, corresponding software vendors responsible for component. Additionally, please recommend the appropriate security patches or updates that can be applied. So, I modified the prompt, and if you see, it's a lot more robust. It gives me information. It gives me a structure which helps me think identify for my issues how I can think about it. I can modify it as per my need, and then I can look for multiple vulnerabilities and try remediate my environment.
Wow. So what helps me always is frame the question as if I would ask it to a real person. You did the same. You even said please and now, because I think if you just stumble some words without being a sentence in the prompt, it doesn't help you to really clarify your question and be specific. So I always say, frame the question as it was a human. So, and then it helps you to phrase it right. And then also I think the output is much clearer. So that's also, I guess, from your side, a best practice, right?
100%. So remember, this is one of our digital assistants, right? And if we tailor it to the needs, like I want to look in my environment, I want you to do this, it would go and look for information and provide it that way. So it's very important as a part of the prompting. One of the things what you recommended is make it conversation in a way which is more useful to you. So use the word like if you see, I need an in-depth analysis.
Yeah.
I started with that. This is my requirement. I'm giving a context. This is my goal, and then I'm asking do this.
So to summarize, I guess we showed a few examples, great examples, by the way, Shobhit, but it's really, what is your goal? What are the details you want to have included? The output format, all of this already specified. So otherwise, of course, you will get something back and you can then always say, and now please put this in a summary or put this in an Excel. But the more precise you are at the beginning, and don't be afraid of typing in a few sentences, it's the more information you give, the better the results could be, of course, always based on what kind of words you put in there. But is this basically the best practices that we can share?
I would say for the new users, start with open-ended questions. Try keep it small. Ask a follow-up question. That is easy to learn. Once you're familiar with it, once you start, and let's say if you're specifically creating a report, if you want something specific, then be specific with your ask so that it. So imagine you're asking a question to help you. So if you have any particular format in your mind, any particular structure in your mind, just ask that question as a prompt to your digital assistants so that it can help you save that time. So whatever matters, I mean, it doesn't mean that open-ended question will not work. As we saw in cases of the prompt book, the basic questions will work as well. But idea is what matters to you. If you want to save time, you have a particular format, structure, metadata in mind, format, be specific in the prompt, and it will give you the reply in that way.
So last question, when does it make sense to save your prompts to promptbooks, and when is it just like, no, just type them in? So what is a good guidance here on when to create playbooks?
Promptbooks are one of the most loved feature and the product feature by my customers because it gives you flexibility. It lets you do repetition of tasks. Imagine you are an organization where you are managing many incidents and you have certain practices. So many customers say, Shobhit, I have to check 5 things irrespective of whatever incident is happening. Now it's a repeatable task. And imagine you can write a prompts. You are not doing any coding. You're not doing any scripting. You're just writing prompts that can help you accomplish that task. And it's repeatable. You just need to supply little information. Maybe a username, maybe UPN, depending on the prompt book type, right? And it can give information back to you. So prompt books, I would say, do explore prompt books. They are great. You can start small. You can be as complicated as you want, depending on your SOC requirements. So it certainly helps all segment of customers and all kind of customers.
Yes, and I learned you can edit it and then save it again and try it out and adjust it to your needs. Shobhit, I think I learned a lot, and I hope our audience as well. So I want to thank you very much for being my guest on today's episode. And I hope everyone enjoyed it. And I see you soon when it is the next episode. Thanks, everyone. Bye.